I uncovered the terrifying story of the Everhart sisters, cursed madams who killed over 90 women. I never should have opened that door. My heart raced as I stepped into the dimly lit room, the air thick with dust and secrets. The shadows danced around me, whispering histories best left forgotten. I could almost hear the screams of those lost souls echoing through time. The Everhart sisters, they said, were cursed. Cursed to wander the earth, their madness a stain on this city, a stain that even time could not wash away. The legend surrounded them like a fog, tangled and frayed. They ran a brothel under the guise of luxury, but their guests never left. Dark tales of betrayal and jealousy spilled from trembling lips. Over 90 women, they claimed. Over 90 lives snuffed out like candles in the wind. Can you imagine? The thought sent chills down my spine. The walls of the brothel creaked under their own weight, a reminder of what lingered inside. The lingering scent of stale perfume clung to everything, suffocating and sweet. I could almost see them glamorously evil, their smiles hiding dagger-sharp intentions. They say one sister was beautiful and charming, the other dark and twisted. They drew you in, but there was always a price to pay. Every corner of that place felt alive. The floorboards groaned beneath my feet, crying out like tortured ghosts. I jumped at the slightest sound. A distant thud. A whisper that wound through the air, prickling my skin. Was it just my imagination, or was something lurking in the dark, watching? I took a step back, catching my breath. My pulse quickened. The shadows seemed to lengthen, reaching out as if they had arms. Was I really alone in this godforsaken place? I shouldn't have come here. It was too late to turn back. A sense of dread clung to me like a shroud. Then, another noisy, a scraping sound. It came from the far corner, dragging against the wooden floor. My skin prickled, and an instinctual chill shot down my spine. I squinted into the dark, heart pounding. Was it just an animal? Or was something simian watching me? My throat tightened, a lump forming as I tried to swallow down the rising panic, and then, without warning, the door behind me slammed shut with a violent crash, the sound echoing in the silence. I turned, barely able to breathe, my eyes wide with terror. The shadows flickered, a figure emerging from the gloom. Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. The figure materialized slowly from the shadows, a silhouette draped in darkness, and for a heartbeat, I held my breath, frozen in terror. It wasn't the light that illuminated the space, but rather a glowing presence that seemed to pulsate with malice, drawing me closer even as fear threatened to crush my chest. The shape seemed to flicker like a candle in the wind, revealing itself to be a woman, her face obscured by a veil of black hair that cascaded around her like smoke. My heart raced as I struggled to comprehend what I was seeing. Could this be one of the Everhart sisters? A wisp of the past come to life, here to claim me as another one of her lost souls? Who are you? I croaked, my voice barely breaking through the oppressive air. As if in response, the woman tilted her head, and her lips curled into a smile that was anything but welcoming. Another curious soul, she whispered, her voice a silken thread woven with malice. So easily lured by the promise of stories, little do you know, my dear, stories hold power. They bind us, even in death. A sickening realization settled in my gut. Every legend I had read, every tale of betrayal, had led to this moment, and the air around me crackled with an energy that made my skin crawl. I needed to leave, needed to escape that dark grip pulling me closer to her. I took a hesitant step back, but the door remained sealed, unyielding. Panic rose in my throat as she took a step forward, her dark presence swallowing the light. Stay, she commanded, and somehow, though words alone had no power, I felt compelled to oblige. My mind screamed to resist, to flee, but my body froze as she came nearer, the scent of decay rising around her like a swirling miasma. It was as if the very futility of my existence was being laid bare, the weight of fear and regret shackling me in place. Do you yearn to know the tales behind the silent wails? She asked, stepping into the faint illumination filtering through the dust. Her eyes glinted, twin pools of black that seemed to rip the very fabric of reality. I swallowed hard, words choking in my throat. Yes, I can see it in you, she continued, a predatory smile playing at her lips. You will weave your own story if you dare. Before I could process what she meant, the floorboards shifted beneath my feet, the wooden planks creaking under the weight of something immense. A low growl echoed through the room, transforming the air into a tangible, oppressive force. The shadows danced wildly around us as far more than just her presence began to manifest. I caught glimpses of faces, contorted in fear, piercing eyes wide as they reached out for me, begging for release. No. I shouted, stepping back, desperate to escape the haunt of the past that crowded around me, suffocating and cruel. But to flee was futile, as more faces emerged from the dark, their moans mingling with the howling wind, each echo resonating with the torment of a life stolen. The sister's legacy must be honored, must be continued. The dark figure hissed, raising her hands as if calling forth their anguished spirits. You will help us, you must help us find the others. My heart pounded in my ears, drowning out their cries, and I was encased in a cocoon of dread as I stumbled backward, my breath quickening to an uncontrollable rhythm. The walls creaked again, their decay acting as a witness to the horrors that swallowed the Everhart sisters. How many had disappeared before? How many more would vanish into the bowels of this cursed structure, never to be seen again? Join us. The figure commanded, her voice rising above the cacophony, a siren call tugging at the vulnerable threads of my sanity. Embrace the darkness. In a moment of panic-driven clarity, I threw myself at the door, slamming my palm against the cold wood with every ounce of strength I could muster. I needed to break free from this nightmare, to escape the weight of those who had lingered beyond the veil. But just then, a chilling laugh rose around me, suffocating the air. I desperately gasped for, the door buckled beneath my touch, shadows coiling around my legs, clutching at me with icy fingers. I turned toward the woman, almost pleading, realizing she had not merely beckoned the lost souls but had birthed something far darker and more monstrous. With one last push against the door, something fell from the shadows, a glimmering object that rolled at my feet, a blood-stained locket, the clasp broken, revealing a faded photograph of the sisters. But there was something off about the faces in the picture. Their eyes were wide, and their smiles were sharp, filled with a haunting hunger. The metallic scent of blood grew thicker in the air, and I felt the temperature drop as whispers engulfed me. In desperate confusion, I turned to face the figure one last time, but she was no longer there. Instead, the cries of the victims surged, filling the space with an oppressive roar. And then, as the shadows closed in tighter, I saw them. The other sisters, the ones who had slipped through the cracks of the darkness that had gathered around me. They emerged from the gloom, faces twisted in rage, turning their attention toward me with unholy intent. That I was no longer merely a witness to horror. With my heart racing and the weight of dread pressing down, I stood on the threshold of a fate I had never wanted, one woven into the very fabric of the cursed Everhart legacy. Before the darkness could swallow me whole, I realized the depth of my mistake. It had never been just about uncovering a story. It had been about becoming a part of one I had no intention of joining. The last thing I heard before the shadows consumed me was the unforgiving laughter of the sisters, echoing like a bell tolling for the lost. And then everything sank into an abyss of silence. The silence wrapped around me, thick and suffocating, but it was not the blissful surrender I had hoped for. I expected to be engulfed by endless dark, yet something inexplicable pulsed beneath the surface, sending ripples through the void. I felt a stone-cold grip around my wrist, tight and unyielding. Suddenly, the cool contact gave way to a rush of memories that were not my own. Flashes of a life horror interlaced with envy took hold of me. I glimpsed echoes of laughter drowning in despair, bright eyes now marred by tears, and whispered promises of revenge that curdled into screams. The sisters' stories flooded my mind like an avalanche, unraveling the very fabric of my identity that I was surrounded by fragments of lives lost in their pursuit of perpetual beauty, twisted in their quest for vengeance against the betrayals they suffered. Their laughter had been a weapon, sharpened by the darkness weaved into their very souls. The shivers that coursed through me were not merely from fear, I was becoming one of them. Panic reared its head, gnashing at my insides as I fought for clarity amidst the chaos. The raw memories wrestled with my thoughts, attempting to chain me to their tragic fate. I was pulled under their violent current, the air around me heavy with the torn remnants of their sorrow. I gasped and grabbed my head, trying to anchor myself in reality. With every breath, I sensed their past consuming me, dragging me down. The cries of the deceived, those faceless remnants that had come before, surged alongside the relentless laughter of the sisters. Voices echoed in the boundaries of my thoughts, mingling with my terror, murmuring secrets meant to be buried, dark truths that curled like smoke in the corners of my mind. Then I heard Ida's voice, soft yet piercing through the cacophony surrounding me. "Find us." It echoed like a relentless wind across barren land, a command born from desperation, woven with a chilling promise that could not be ignored. Find who? I called into the abyss, trembling as I understood the weight those words carried. What lay ahead was not merely about uncovering stories but about confronting the scars left by the Everhart sisters themselves. The shadows flickered, pulses of anger and despair bending time around me. Something shifted in my mind as I finally surrendered to the allure of their invitation. The shadows coiled tighter, and suddenly, an oppressive force guided me forward. Clarity broke through the tempest, revealing the remnants of the room around me, yet everything felt distant and surreal. The walls oozed with shades of red and black as if they had absorbed the very anguish the sisters wrought. I was drawn to a heavy wooden door, one that had been masked in shadows until now, barely discernible but unmistakably there, a threshold to the unknown.